7:02. Needs to turn his on. Call the meeting to order. We have an agenda. If the secretary will record the attendance. At 7:03, there was 4 present, along with Mr. Hall.
Got it.
All were notified of the meeting by a phone call. Except Mr. Johnson.
Except Mr. Johnson, and that was my error, and I do apologize.
Well, so far as I know, he hadn't been to a meeting yet, so. We may have to throw him off. Each one of you have a copy of the minutes.
Yes, sir.
If you'll look over those, and
I didn't take that.
if you have any comments or questions.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we approve the minutes.
Motion been made to approve. Do we hear a second?
Where's the agenda for tonight?
Do we hear a second to approve the minutes?
I'll second to approve the minutes.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, approval of the minutes. Now,
Mr. Chairman, I have a question on this agenda we have tonight. Do you have a copy of the agenda?
yes, sir.
That seems to be, it says the 2016, but this is what we had last year on new business, and that's not correct.
You're right. On the agenda, under
So
B,
do-
item
so,
B,
Scott, do you have an agenda for tonight as far as?
he's part of the agenda. Under part, number 5, part B, mark out I, 2I, 3I,
Okay.
IV, and V. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. When I asked for it to be copied, I didn't have those marked out.
I make a motion that we, in new business, delete 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
I'll
from
second
Section
that.
B.
Okay. Motion been made to amend the agenda by marking out the part that was carried over from last year. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the presentation will be out by our city manager and new member Scott Tucker.
I would,
Any other old business?
You probably need to make A official on your appointments to your officers.
officers.
Yeah.
Well, that was getting rid of the old business, and then we'll come down to the new business there.
Does anybody have old business?
Does any of you have any old business? I don't see any coming out of the minutes,
So,
so. New business, A, elect officers for 2016. Floor is open for nomination.
I'd like to nominate Scott Tucker for chairperson of the board.
Any other nominations? Do we have a motion of,
I'll nominate Larry Richards for second vice, for vice chairman.
okay, any others?
I'd nominate Jacob
Blake.
Bleak for
Second.
secretary.
Recording secretary. Was there any others? Any other officers that we need to elect? Vice chairman, chairman. I don't see anyone else to be elected. Any other offices to be filled?
I'll second the motions.
You second the motion to
Second the
accept the nomination?
Nominations. So we vote on them, right?
Okay, all in favor of those, of electing those nominated by acclamation, say by aye.
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 Opposed? So I guess at this time, we're ready for the presentation by the city manager and Mr. Tucker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just wanted to bring you a brief update. All these, when y'all had the presentation last year, I think it was in April, when the Amanda Murray, Kendrick Curtis, Leanne Cox, Wolfgang Roeder, and Jessica Bro were here at the meeting. We discussed the industrial park that they're wanting to happen around the 840 corridor. Was in another meeting with them at the Middle Tennessee Industrial Development Agency downtown off of Hillsborough Road near Green Hills. At that time, the engineer for the TVA was there and had some properties that he had looked at to see if they were capable of being an industrial park. What the latest is as far as an industrial park in our area is there, if we could come up with the proper amount of acreage to be a tri-county industrial park, would be the Williamson County, Dixon County, and Hickman County. Dixon County is huge for it right now. They would love to see it. I was in a meeting in Dixon at the Clement Railroad Hotel, where a lot of industrial people were at. One of those being the person that actually brought in Dow Tile to the Dixon area. And he actually gave a good talk that night about this area here within Dixon. The Fairview area was one of the hottest industrial sites being looked at in this, from not only around the United States, but also from Europe. A lot of countries in Europe are looking at these sites here in the United States. And one reason that Dixon is a hot area is because they have access to the railroad on Highway 70 that goes all the way into Nashville. The other thing is that Fairview is close to the 840 corridor, as well as the I-40 corridor, as well as the Highway 100. And so they have three accesses there that they like. The Dow Tile place in Dixon was a 1,500,000 square foot building for production of ceramic tile. We actually at one time had another tile company looking at Fairview, wanting 200 acres of pretty well rectangular shape and the topography pretty level. Getting back to the meeting I was at the Clement Railroad Hotel in Dixon, the speaker was talking about this area here and what we had lost in the recent year and a half. This area actually lost an Academy Sports distribution center that Crossville, Tennessee was lucky enough to get, but they were looking at this area pretty strong. That being said, a distribution center is not really a manufacturing, but it usually has a nice office front with, well-maintained property around it, landscaped, et cetera. That's what I'd love to see here in this area here. But when you lose a 1,600,000 square foot distribution center, you've lost quite a bit. So in further discussion at that meeting, they also said if we could come up with 400 to 500 acres of good topography, that would make a great industrial park. And these people that we had here at the meeting last April with the economic divisions of TVA and the Williamson Economic Chamber and the state and Middle Tennessee Industrial Development Agency. And I believe, Larry, you and Mr. Sullivan was here when Mr. Bibb was here talking to us a couple of years ago.
Yes.
When Bob was chairman, Mr. Benson. He is part of this Middle Tennessee Industrial Development Agency. And so they're still promoting us, but it's just hard for us to find that acreage that we need with the topography that they need to be able to attract them here. But the only other hot area in North America right now is Mexico. And I would love to beat out Mexico if at all possible for any kind of major industrial area, but the mayor of Dixon, Bob Ryle, is trying to help. I've talked to him on 3 or 4 different occasions. So if we ever come up with the land, I think we can actually come up with a great industrial area around here. So that's pretty well my report tonight, and I will stay in touch with all these development agencies to see what the future brings.
Is this discussed at the chairman, the Chamber of Commerce meetings with the realtors and the?
I'm not sure.
It is going to be next month, discussed with it. I'm the chair of the Chamber's Industrial Development Committee, and it will be brought up. There is 100 and almost 120 acres west of here, out by, has access off of 100, right next to 840.
Right.
That's available. There is a possibility, looking at the topography, that might be extended. If we spoke to the people, they have the land. It's actually not exactly farmland. The acreage is along more of a narrow lot, but the nice thing about that, it allows for trucks to come in backing up to it. You could probably stick in 16 loading docks on that piece of property there. I'd have to sit down and look at it. I just became aware of it. But you have to look at the the ability to get freight in and freight out of any plant. I've seen several warehousing when I was out in California recently. They have a Target has a 1.75 million square foot facility out north of Bakersfield. IKEA has a 1.1 million square foot facility at the bottom of the Grapevine coming across from LA. One of the things we could possibly get or look to do, if we get the acreage or get close to that acreage, if we can get allow the state to let us put in a duty-free zone. Duty-free zones do tremendous for any kind of warehousing facilities where they can bring it in. It comes in duty-free, there's no taxes on it until it leaves the zone. And so it'd be, if you bring it in that way, you can bring a lot of stuff from overseas in that way. A lot of your overseas European companies and stuff like that look for the tax-free
Do
zones.
they do that around?
Yeah, the state can do that.
State can do that?
Yeah, that's how California does it. Most states do it. Carolina's done it. That's how they get their plants in. That's how you get business from overseas in, is put in a duty-free zone. You have to have the
What taxes are they skipping by doing that?
import taxes, any kind of import taxes. They don't pay any kind of import taxes on it. They pay no like a sales tax or anything bringing in the area. It's all taken care of as it moves out. As far as sales tax, it would only be at the place they take it to. As far as duty on the import, it's not paid till they leave. So they can bring it all the way from either coast or the Caribbean, down around Houston, out of Houston or New Orleans or Mobile, places like that. They can bring it in, distribution, then they pay for their duty as it leaves. So there is no duty bringing it in.
Well, other than jobs, then there's no, other than land taxes, then there's no other benefits.
Well, there's
to-
land tax plus the jobs and the income, and there is but you get jobs, and usually these are fairly good paying jobs.
I
You get,
understand that. I'm just clarifying.
yeah,
I'm not-
that is. No,
Not
there-
criticizing, just clarifying.
But it works better than giving somebody 5 or 10 years of manufacturing without any kind of taxes on the manufacturing. This works pretty good. Plus, part of it is you don't have to have a terribly high education. So some of the people here who don't have a good education, who probably never will have a good education because they didn't do good school to begin with, they're employable, where they may not be as employable before. And you don't want to put your entire resources in something like that. I mean, but that it does help employ a certain amount of people who are generally not as employable. And so if you get a area, depending on the size of warehousing, but a lot of your, that's how they employ a lot of people actually in California, because a lot of people in California get out of high school and can't read and write. So that's one of the ways they employ it. Another way is putting in factories that, but so much of your factory now, if you can, what you want to go for is automation. And then have people who are trained for automation technicians, computer people, which we can get. We have a really good school right here in Nashville. We could work out something possibly with them to come out and train our people on site, or have classes designed for these that we could send people to get a much better income coming in. And you have, in that case, you'd have a lot of stuff coming in. You'd have the taxes on manufacturing, you get almost stuff.
Besides that parcel or parcels, are there any other lands, potential lands available in the city limits? Not necessarily city limits, I'm sorry, in Fairview, that are potentials for development? I know, want to steer towards the interstate, away from town as much as possible, and obviously we need to look at utilities potentials as well for whatever the industry would be. So, Wayne, any other?
Yes, Jake, there's a piece of property on the right-hand side before you access 840 that actually has got a bridge that goes over to it, but it's also got the creek that runs through it. I've often thought that would be a great area for a nice either distribution center or an office park type scene there, because I think like it's like 160 acres, I think. But with that Turnbull running through there, it could be well protected and screened and made look real nice, kind of like the office park at Metro Center. I think it would be a good area there. As far as utilities go, you got TVA that's already improved their power lines, and actually probably going to put in another substation on Pinewood Road, which is near the interchange. But as far as the wastewater treatment, they can be done with the sand filter on-site systems. And of course, water shouldn't be any problem at all. So you should have your utilities in place for that type of distribution center, light industry. One thing that you mentioned a second ago, Jake, was about the jobs. One of the main things that you hear when we try to promote a sit-down restaurant, the thing that we hear from them is Fairview doesn't have the daytime lunch crowd. But if you get the industries in here and the distribution center, then that's going to improve your daytime lunch crowd. So that will attract us some nice
A perfect
restaurants.
example, sitting right over there where, you know, 2 businesses failed
Yeah,
as a result of lack of business.
right, exactly. And so that's, to me, industrial, light industrial distribution centers is key for this area, in my opinion. One thing that may eventually help as far as 840 goes, some of the meetings I've been in with the Regional Transportation Agency, they're promoting, in which the voting members of that board voted to change 840 to an actual interstate rather than a local access. Once that happens, then you're going to get an even larger flow of traffic on 840 that will be bypassing Nashville, and that's what Nashville is looking for, is to create people getting around town by using 840 and coming out at the Lebanon area up there, or Murfreesboro, wherever they want to go. But that's one of the goals of this Regional Transportation Authority, is hoping the legislator will vote that in to be an interstate.
One of the things when I was on the Nashville Chamber a few years back before I had to go out west, was they were what they wanted to do was promote these small towns outside Nashville to have the industry. They didn't want the industry really in Nashville. One of the reasons for it, of course, is traffic. And another reason is it helps the regional economy as a whole to not be all in Nashville. It really helps it to be outside, because most of your big plants want to be able to have access to a city, but they don't want to be in a city.
Understood.
That's one of the things. The other thing is too, my understanding is that the land I was telling you about does have water access to it from Dixon Water. Another thing on the property is has, let's see here, has trying to think, it's like 350 or 400 feet. Frontage is 3,400 foot on the road, which makes it excellent to bring trucks in and out. And also, but the big thing is you have enough footage that you can have a turn coming in to where the trucks can come out and get a little speed up and get away from the plant without stopping the traffic. It has better traffic flow, and also bringing so it doesn't create traffic problems like we have right out here on 100 towards the school. So you can eliminate that and eliminate the traffic coming into it for any areas around it. And that's as I've seen, a major thing here right through the center of town.
Well, last year, we were talking with these people, Wolfgang, Kendrick, and I think Leanne, about certifying property in the A, B, C category and things like that.
Yes, sir.
Has that property, has that went any further with getting people's property certified that we're looking to bring? I mean, isn't that a big part of having somebody relocate here?
That you get that on the state's website, then that gets them an area there where they can show your property that's like the property he's talking about. I know which one it is. then it's on that site, then they can promote it to people that's planning on moving to this area and why they would want to move here. That's one thing that Leanne is doing. Now, one thing that's probably delayed any of the last meetings is Amanda Murray with Williamson Economic Chamber has moved out west now, and she's no longer there, and the new girl is just now getting entrenched as to what to do, and I've had one conversation with her, so
Who is she now?
I've forgotten her name right off.
But did she replace Amanda?
She's replacing Amanda, and I think her first name's Elizabeth, but I've forgotten her last name. I want to go back to utilities one more for a second. One thing I forgot to mention a second ago was Piedmont Natural Gas will move out there anytime that they're ready to go. So a lot of these big, huge buildings, they have gas heaters to keep them warm and everything. So that's another main utility that's willing to move out that way.
And you can also run, if necessary, particularly if you have natural gas, emergency power off of gas generators. So you don't shut anything down. They have generators now, they're big enough. Most of your plants will have them in it. In case there's a storm knocks out the electrical, they have gas generators that can take over the load.
Yeah, but that's not true emergency generation.
But if it's underground, they look at it that way. It's not true, but they look at it that way.
Unless it's on-site fuel.
Yeah, it's
Can't
supposed to
be
be on, but
emergency.
as a general rule, unless it's an earthquake, natural gas is about as good as an emergency. And some of your plants will have it backed up with like a propane, should anything go wrong with the natural gas. It's a matter of changing, it'll change over, and then they'll just change the heads out, the burners out. And they can do that relatively quickly.
On the, we were discussing down here by 840, should there be a manufacturer come in, could they use the raw water from Turnbull in their manufacturing?
That would have to take an environmental impact study. I don't know, I guess there's a possibility, but I'm not sure.
I'm not
about that.
sure either, but I don't,
Depends on the chemicals, obviously. There's lots of things going on with raw water turbidity, dissolved solids, all those issues. And then the purity requirements of whatever the manufacturing requirements are. They may even require cleaner water than Tennessee and normal EPA drinking water standards for their product. So it could even be, harsher, more stringent requirements.
And that depends too, what they're willing to do to get the water. I mean, if it's water that they can have an operation that cleans the water relatively easy, that might be true. It just depends, and also depends on the type of plant you're bringing in. But all that usually starts out the environmental impact study to see if you can take the water or not. Do we have, I don't know for sure since I haven't been on the board, is all the land over in our industrial park taken up now? Or is there still land over there?
There's 2 lots left.
2 lots left?
Yeah, we have, we actually had one that's looking at one of the lots that is a vendor for the Dow Tile place in Dixon. Mm-hmm. But I haven't heard whether that's actually transpired yet, but they did contact me about that. And then we have another piece of the property over there. I have another company that's interested in looking at that lot. So we do have the latest over there is Alpha Technologies that's recently built that new nice 21,000 square foot building. If y'all
Yeah, I
are
saw
out that
it.
way, you need to drive by there.
I saw
I'm
that
sure
one.
they wouldn't mind a tour. In fact, that's where y'all are having breakfast at in the morning, is at his restaurant. That I
Yeah,
think is the
yeah, I was
first,
over by that
Yeah.
not too long ago.
but it's an awful nice building that he has built in our industrial park. Todd Beans, who it used to be on our planning commission, is the owner of both properties.
And where are you having breakfast at?
The Chamber's having their yearly,
At First
Breakfast.
District Coffee
Oh, is
tomorrow morning, yeah.
it's up there where the Farm Depot used to be. And tomorrow, I guess, is the first day of their opening, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a soft opening. We're having
Yeah.
a catered breakfast there. I just, you're talking about looking at your areas to determine if the areas are acceptable to industry. How far has that gone so far?
I don't know that it's, I don't know how far it's gone. We, that's why I say it needs to be connected with the realtors and the chamber in that group and the commissioners, and of course Wayne's involved in it. But I'm not sure that the land is being certified in a certain category and then put on that list. I think it costs money to do that even, don't it?
It does.
Yes, sir, it does, and
And so a guy selling land, to attract these people, he needs to have it certified under them guidelines and put on that website.
We really need to talk to the realtors about talking to the people that own the land.
Yeah.
And the big problem with big, large industry is they want large volumes of land. And just take, for instance, out at I-40, we've got 3 or 4 areas out there that has anywhere from 25 to 30 acres. Well, unless all of that was combined, you really don't have enough that they want, you know.
Even this 119 acres is not a very big acreage.
The tile company that we lost, and Mayor Patty Carroll was, had gotten called by the Williamson Economic Chamber and give us about 2 days to put together a possibility of 200 acres, and you just can't do it that quick. And even with TVA and their engineering, his access to all the, everything that he can access, he couldn't come up with it either.
In my previous, one of my previous lives in property development, even though potential industries may say they want, or their standards are 200 acres or whatever the number is, it really depends on what the land adjacencies are, what's next to me, you know, and do I need to have a buffer in order to make my business as secure as I need it to be? So if you can back somebody up to an interstate on one side, that may alleviate, 50 acres. And again, the shape and the topography of the property makes a, great deal of decision as to what the acceptable acreage really is.
I think the key word for it is it's pad ready. It's ready to
Well,
put in-
everybody's going to
ready
say,
to
I want
develop
it
it.
pad ready, and I want all my utilities brought to me free of charge, and bring me a road, in order to attract my business and my employees, or potential for hiring employees. But, a lot of that is negotiable, obviously.
You're exactly right on all the things that they require.
Plus, they don't want any taxes any time for 10 years. But that,
They're in business to make money, and the city is obviously in a business to, be as, not profitable, but to be as progressive and to build this community as best we can, as our charge. But, so we need to look out for whatever those interests are and attract those businesses as best we can. And obviously, if people are starting to look at you, they've already narrowed it down to 1 or 2 or 3 sites. And whoever can give them the best deal, in the long term, sometimes long-term could be 20 years, to whatever those costs are, and you can make deals with utility companies, you can make deals, with the city, obviously, and, the company's got to give as well if they really want to be here.
sometimes utilities, if it takes up enough of their product, they'll go along with it a little better, simply because it allows them to take their utilities to that area at a lower cost, because they're getting such amount of efficiency. So there's a lot of give and take and bartering and dealing going on in any kind of manufacturing plant coming in of any size.
Any further discussion on that, or any questions that you want to ask either one of these gentlemen?
Is there still a economic development board?
We had, when Mayor Carroll first was, her first few weeks of mayor, being mayor, she had one meeting, but so far since, she hasn't called them. And that's usually a meeting that the mayor does have. And a lot of this happens that a lot of the people that was becoming those meetings also come to the chamber meetings.
That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah, and so.
They used to have it under,
Yeah.
Toddy had a lot of them
Yeah.
meetings, and there's a pretty good crowd. And that's the people that are in the real estate, in the business, in the developments. And that's the people that need to get with these folks that have the certifications and how they can get us on the,
Yeah.
A part of your chamber in a case like this is basically you have to have chamber members who are willing to be on a committee who goes and talks to the business people wanting to come in, because business people want to talk not only to the city, but business to business. And that formation, I believe, will be coming this year.
yeah.
I get contacted a lot by email from these people that promote retail and industry. But their starting point on the contract is usually $100,000, which we don't have that kind of money right now to hire a firm like that to promote us. So I've took it on myself, and when Frank was here, took it on. He helped quite a bit, and Mayor Toddy was helping out before she ended her term as mayor, and Mayor Carroll is really helping out. So we're promoting ourselves at every chance we get, not only with the economic chambers and those meetings that they have, but with other areas within the county itself. And we'll be at a meeting tomorrow. The mayor and I will be in the morning. We'll miss the chamber dinner, but chamber breakfast, but they're aware of it, and I do have representatives from the city to be at that chamber meeting. But we just don't have the money to hire a big firm like that to promote us. At least right now we don't. And so I'm doing everything I can to get our word out there to these retailers. And, I was give a tour this afternoon, believe it or not, to another fast food restaurant that's looking at us pretty strong. So I took them around to available properties that I knew were for sale, or, I'd seen for sale signs up. I'm not a real estate agent, but I'm not trying to do that. I'm just trying to bring another business to our town, and so when they contact us, they need to know certain things. So that's usually on my shoulders when they contact us. But,
And one of the things that I'm going to do with the chamber is I'm going to be going to the Williamson County Chamber Economic Development meetings. They're usually in the evening or afternoon, so I can go ahead and go to those. And there's some other things kind of going on to help me do that. So I'll be going to those. I'm sure you're, Wayne, you probably want to go with me to them.
sure.
But it's just, we've kind of, as my understanding, and I'm new to the community, I can't say I'm not, I don't know everything that's gone on, but it seems like this is something that just started just a very few years back, really. And a lot of times this kind of thing is exponential in its movement. as it goes forward from the time it starts, so. And having people who really care about the community and want to get the right kind of industry in here. We don't need heavy chemical plants coming in here and things like that. We could support them anyway. But there are things like distribution centers, there's small plants, relatively small, compared to heavy industry, light industry, what we call light industry, which would really suit us a lot. And I think one of the things I think that we overlook so much as a community and we don't think about, that our school system is a big, big plus. Because our school system is ranked really high for a community our size. We are, just can't tell you how much this industry looks at this. I just came out of heavy industry, and boy, they look at schools big time. Because they want the kids to be able to read and write, know basic mathematics. And one of the things that I found out, my wife helps kids in grade school learn how to read. She's like a tutor over at the grade school. And she said the kids are the most polite she's seen in a long time. When you give tours and the kids are polite or the people are polite, that goes a long way with business, because they know the kind of community they're coming into. And I think Fairview is really, I'm just really very strong on Fairview, because I think Fairview has such potential. I think there's good people living here who want good things to happen. There's some, of course, you always have the few who don't, but overall, I think this is a really good community, and I think they would accept a lot of things if it's done in the right way. I think that it's your developers who'd like to see it come in, because you get good jobs coming in. That means that you're going to have growth in housing development, business development. And as Wayne said a few minutes ago, just as a restaurant coming in to look, if you can have 3 or 4 good restaurants, and we're big enough to I think, take care of restaurants if it's, done right. But it has to be promoted. And if it's a different restaurant, I think if it's a different restaurant, it makes more people come to it. And those few restaurants help bring business in, because they have some place to go. Kind of like a snowball, I think.
One thing that I'm promoting, I don't know whether y'all been paying attention to some of my brief statements at the end of the Board of Commissioners meeting, is the way I see it, the staff, the boards, the citizens, we're a team. We need to promote our city as a team. We all need to fall in and help each other. And that's the thing that's going to promote our town to the future. We have a good base background with the school system. We have a good base of public safety. As that well turned out over the weekend, I think our public safety boys done a very good job over the weekend. That's 4 employees in our public safety department as far as the roads go. But it's all a team effort, not only from the Board of Commissioners, the Planning Commission, the Board of Zoning Appeals, the Industrial Board, the Tree Board. It's all a teamwork. And when citizens start falling in to help, and that makes my job a lot easier. It makes the Board of Commissioners' job easier. And when they see that the whole city is working as a team, and when you do attract these big-time people coming in here, they see that. They're ready to go for it, and that's what's happening right now with the rooftops. We're going to have the rooftops that these people are requiring. We just got to get some businesses in here with some daytime lunch crowd to get our restaurants that we would love to see. And that's the biggest thing that I hear from the citizenship, is they would like a good, nice sit-down restaurant. They would love a good steakhouse, whatever, but.
Everybody's got to go to either Bellevue or to Dixon
You're right.
to get something decent to eat.
Yes.
Not that 2 Mexican restaurants and 1 Chinese and one and eventually 2 fast food joints.
Yeah.
But I think the expansions that are going on in Nashville, what's happening in Franklin, most people can't afford to live in the proper Franklin itself, and they're going to look at Fairview as potential housing, and they need somewhere to go to spend their money.
Right.
Uh,
You made another key statement there, Jake, is that the Hardys that's coming in, they've gone through their final approval. They're moving their corporate offices from California and from St. Louis to Franklin. Well, the corporate people that they're moving in here, believe it or not, they're coming to live in Fairview because they can get a better home, better square footage here cheaper than they can buy it in Franklin or Brentwood or any place else like that. The same thing is happening to TriStar Hospital. That's got the new emergency room out on 46, just past O'Charlie's. One of their top people, their second in charge of the TriStar here locally, actually lives here in Fairview. He's a neighbor of Scott's. Their director of pharmacy, they moved in here from Knoxville. She lives in Fairview. A surgeon that they hired out of Mississippi lives here in Fairview. We are supposed to be getting the possibility in the future of a health complex. You know, it's going to be bringing in, you know, doctor staffed with where that they can, like my doctor can x-ray and, you know, do minor lab work, do some blood works, you know, that type thing, where that they can, we can have something like that here that we do not have now. And, you know, that's part of the future, is being able to treat your citizens with health care. So it's all seems to be coming together. It's just going to be time consuming as far as the industry goes. Sit-down restaurants are a nice hotel that I am pushing for. You know, if we can get us a very nice hotel here, then we can attract some things in the park that we hadn't been able to attract. Those type things lead to a future of this town.
Something else that Wayne spoke to me about, it's been a while back, we were sitting talking. One of the big things you look at too, is we have a really good fire department for a town our size. We've got a ladder truck, which most towns our size don't have. We've got a auxiliary right over by the industrial park, which is huge. We've got a nice facility here, so safety, particularly if we get this medical facility in here, if they can do industrial medicine, that is huge. If there's a way to have a helicopter pad someplace closer to where we can land to pick people up and take them to a major hospital, that's huge. So it's the little things you don't think about that make such a big difference. And I think the fire department's a big one. We got a good police department. So I'm really big on Fairview. That's why I moved out here. When I saw they had a nice fire department, that makes your in a city this size, that helps keep your house insurance down. They also have, every time you look around, you see a fire plug that they can get to fairly easy. So I just think Fairview's in a really, really good position, and I'm really happy to be here. I like the people here too. I met a lot of nice people here.
Wrap it up.
Any other comments? If
To
not,
death with the discussion tonight, it's give me a chance to promote our town, so.
Well, I just think we need to keep working on it and keep learning more about how to do it and putting the people together with the people that need to be to make it more effective.
One of the things I'm happy to say is that we're going to have the sidewalk from where Bowie starts. It looks like at this point it isn't 100% finalized as TDOT, but I think I believe we're in a pretty good running, are we not, Wayne? And it'll go from there all the way down to Urgent Care Center. So all that housing in that area there will have sidewalks, not walking on the side of the road. And personally, I think that just in aesthetics alone, that helps a lot because people can walk back and forth without having to walk on the highway.
Right.
And I think that'll be a big plus as far as people looking at the city. You wouldn't think it'd be something like that, but it does make a difference.
And in case of a heavy snow, they wouldn't have to be walking down the middle of the streets as they were in some places in Nashville.
I go with my place trying to go up the hill.
It's amazing. I saw some of those reports today on those larger cities up northeast where the snowplow went down through the middle of the thing and all the snow went over. And not only were the cars already covered up with snow,
Yep.
they were that much more covered
saw
up, so they
that.
couldn't
Well-
dig out of their cars and
Or you
everything.
could be in Nashville where I slid down the street this morning, barely moving. And I haven't done it out here, but I did it there.
Well, getting into Nashville, you have to time you getting in there.
Even without snow and ice.
If you don't have any more discussion on the presentation, the next item is setting the date of the next meeting,
January 23rd.
January the 23rd, 2017. Something we need to look at in there in case we need to have a special meeting is the fact that you will have two board members, terms expiring June 30th of 16.
Is it normally just once a year you meet?
Normally, it calls for once a year,
It's required
Special-
once a year.
special call meetings, and
We could do more if we needed it.
Well, you think we need to do maybe one a quarter to keep up with everything?
I was just reading
In
in
order to
here.
get something moving.
Yeah. It helped us keep things moving along, I think we did it. I mean, I'm not sure we need one more than that, but I would think we need one once a quarter just to be able to keep things moving.
At least semi-annually.
I think you could call it if you have something you want to, or if you want to do the quarter.
Yeah.
I think it's the discretion, maybe you, or
Chair?
if you want to call it.
Yeah, I think, truthfully, I think, listening to what I hear from you guys and from Wayne, it would behoove us once a quarter. Do you think so, Wayne?
Well, how many members do you have in your chamber industrial department?
We're gonna end up probably with 5
Well, that could be kind of a joint
meeting.
meeting together, and if you wanted to call one, leave
I
that
could
up to
do
you.
that.
And
I could call a meeting to the chamber in conjunction with us. We'll sit down and talk things out. I mean, I think,
What I was looking at the roll, the two that expire are not here tonight. They told me they would be here
Yeah,
when I called them. But that call, I was noticing, let's see, Article 2, Section 4. Do any of you do you have bylaws?
I do, somewhere.
copy of the bylaws too. I think we all need a copy of the bylaws.
I'll agree.
Email those out, Wayne?
We received them. Got too many papers up here. May the 21st, 2013. If I'm not mistaken, that's when they were amended, accepted. Let's see, I think that's on the back. Amendments were amended by a simple majority vote of the directors on the annual meeting of the, adopted by the majority vote of the Industrial Development Board of the City of Fairview this 21st day of May, 2013.
21st of May,
Sir?
21st of May,
Yeah, 21st of May.
2013. Okay,
So,
I'll get those together and email them out to you. It might not be this week because we're kind of catching up from,
reason I brought that up, in Section 2, Article 2, Section 4, notice setting out the time and place of such well, that's a special meeting, though. No. Such annual meeting shall be held on the fourth Monday of January at 7:00 PM. That was section 3. Section 4. A notice setting out the time and place of such annual meeting shall be mailed, postage, prepaid to each member of the Board of Directors and the Board of Commissioners of the City of Fairview, Tennessee, at least 5 days prior to the annual meeting. Guilty?
Well, you did make contact, though.
Make
Last
contact.
week, so I had my 5 days.
I think that should be amended to the point that personal contact or a phone contact
Should be just as good as the mail contact.
would be just as well.
Yeah.
So,
I think for 1 year you even had certified letters.
well,
You did.
I think I've got a stack of 2 or 3. As a matter of fact, this letter here, this was sent by certified mail. So, and
I think phone calls or emails and then response that you've got it is good. I told you I'd be here. I mean, you called me.
well, yeah, and there was, I'd have to talk to Callie, Mr. Tucker, Mr. Bryson, Mr. Richards, and Mr. Blake. I think that's the way you pronounced it.
Yeah, got it.
I'm catching on.
And I'll check in too and see if there's supposed to be a 7th member, or whether Commissioner Johnson is supposed to be the 7th member. I'll
Yeah.
check into that for you.
Yeah.
In the voting, I heard there was another person. I just don't know who it is.
Okay.
Well, according to this, you have the 7 members.
I know it. It could have been Scott's name. I don't remember it though. That's all.
So if Mr. Scott was elected in 15,
That's him.
his term expires in 18, that's only 3 years.
When's your term expire?
I think it's, I thought it was
It was, the reason it was open, the original term had expired.
Yeah.
Mr. Hall had taken it was
It's a
Bob Benson's
Exactly. So it was Bob's term
term.
that was
and
up.
It was filled for he even elected a chairman outright. But yet,
But how long was the standard term? 3 years? 6 years?
6,
So in actually, his it expired in actuality, my term expires in 21.
right.
I'm gonna,
Well, now, you were elected in 15, so 6 years, 21.
What am I, Jake?
Coach Jake is on there till 2020, aren't you, Jake?
Yeah. You're 19.
I'm 19, see, and but I took somebody's place.
He is the only one that's on there for that
When you
length
take
of time.
somebody's place, I think you assume their term.
So,
Everybody else has been on the board long enough, they'll be going off.
well,
Oh, okay. So when you got.
you have a copy of this, don't you? Do you not?
Yeah, I have it right here.
Okay.
They got a misprint on it.
So mine is, in actuality, is supposed to be 21 then, instead of 18.
I think so. What about Mr. Callie? You recall when he was elected,
They didn't have no changes we made.
the feeling of,
And it was given to them.
post? He should have 3 years to go. When you were elected, Mr. Richards?
It was last year, year before last, I become chairman. I got on
And 13.
in 13, and Bob Benson left, and I become chairman that night. And then last year,
Okay.
we had
In other words, the
Jake's first time.
term expires 19,
What's that?
2019.
That's 6 years.
That's 6 years.
6 years. That one, Mr. Blake's, Mr. Richards, Mr. Bryson's expires in June. Yours expires in, it says here 18. Should we,
We need
Should
to
be
correct that.
21.
Should be 21.
when you mail out the new,
I'm gonna have them check into the terms and see, and then they'll show it in the bylaws, so we'll check into those for you too. And see when they were first appointed and how much longer they've got to
Okay.
serve.
so, if you, in other words, you may have to go on the record to see when
Yeah,
they were elected.
right.
And according to the way I understand it, 6 years, there's 6 of us that have 6-year terms.
Yeah.
And
They're all
The-
expiring at different times.
the 7th is the commissioners
Term of office,
Term.
elect one of their,
their term of office,
is the term of office, right?
Which would be 3 years, is it not?
4,
4. Okay.
or whenever their term expires,
Well, it does-
unless they're reelected.
is Mr. Stewart, is he running it this year or next year?
I don't know.
Well,
His-
this
his-
year's the time.
His
for-
term, I mean, his actual term is up in this year.
In this year?
Yeah, if he chooses to run, then he can run in the November election.
Do we not have 3 that's expiring this year?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do we want to have, well, or is that up to you then? I'm taking it as like I'm chairman until this meeting is adjourned.
Well, actually, you are, because mine doesn't start till the next meeting. so.
Well, that's what I was
Well,
thinking.
I will say this, I'm in favorably looking at possibly a quarter to, as an update on what's going on, what can we do to help promote what's going on? Because I think meeting once a year, you're somewhat spinning your wheels.
Well, I was told that to meet once a year to keep the state happy.
I don't worry about the state.
That's
I
a
want-
minimum requirement.
That's a minimum requirement.
That's a minimum, yeah.
And I
I've
know-
got my contact email and all this stuff I'm gonna give you.
Thank you.
And if we can get more people to give that to you and we all connect a little better
Yeah,
during the
I
year,
appreciate
then
that.
that'll work.
Yeah, but I think we need to meet a little more often to be able to help Wayne.
Right.
Look at what he's doing, and at the chamber meet too, to see what they're doing.
At least to give him some applause, to
Don't
tell
write
him
my
to
stuff,
pat him
that's
on the
my
back.
email.
I'll tell you what, I agree with you there
Got it on
100%.
You've emailed me
I wouldn't mind
Yeah,
having a
that'd
job
be
this
good to
town
stop.
except his.
Do,
I couldn't do his job.
as chairman-elect, do you want to make that motion that we have a whole quarterly meeting?
Yeah, gentlemen,
Attention,
I'm going to make a motion that we have quarterly meetings this year. And if we have any special meetings, we can call those, but quarterly meetings. So our next meeting would be in, April, the 3rd.
the fourth Monday in April.
Fourth Monday in April.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
that.
Jake, you've been sending me a copy of the minutes, so
Yeah.
I'm gonna set up a file for the industrial board. So once I get those, I'll include those in my file.
I'll get them to you tomorrow. or the
It's
day
no
after.
big deal on the time frame. So just,
The fourth Monday, that will be the 25th of April.
yes.
Put that in my phone right now so I don't forget it.
Well, I don't have all that much stuff in mine, it's just,
My wife makes me do my phone.
I've already got you in my records, but
Well-
on your phone, I don't think I have that.
my wife won't let me afford one like that.
Well, I probably shouldn't afford one
Play golf?
like that.
No, I drink beer though.
We kind of drink beer.
Do you want for your records, the rest of these,
Roll, please. That would be helpful.
and you don't need any of the agendas, do you?
No, because we're gonna
Okay.
have agendas. We will have a copy of the agenda on this one.
Want to adjourn?
You want to adjourn?
Do we have any other business?
Wayne, do you have anything else?
Motion to adjourn?
Motion adjourned. Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Now,